Hello everyone, it's Dr. Carol Jones again. Thank you for coming back and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who do not know me, I am Dr. Carol Jones. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor and I deal with individuals who have mental health or substance use disorder diagnoses. With that being said, this channel, as we know, is focused on dealing with domestic violence, mainly in the church because it's not often addressed. With that being said, I wanted to do this short and special video because today is October 1st and today begins Domestic Violence Awareness Month. One of the easiest ways or one of the quickest ways for you to start the conversation on domestic violence, which is often difficult, is by sharing information. You can just simply say to your family member, your friend, wow, look at this, advertisement on TV, or look at what I got in the mail, or look at what I picked up at the doctor's office. Even on billboards as we're driving down the street and down the highway. That's also a good way to, point it out and to say, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I don't know if you are aware of that. It's a topic that we need to discuss because it's not often being discussed in communities, in families, and in the church. Now, this channel directs my attention towards domestic violence being unaddressed in the church because individuals who are Christians also deal with domestic violence. Domestic violence is not only among individuals who are unchurched or unsaved. Saved individuals who are living their lives for Christ, oftentimes may have some of the same issues that everyone else does. Now, why is this so? Some people might say, well, you're a Christian, you shouldn't have these issues. Well, we're human, okay? And humans are the ones that get saved. God is not saving people who are not humans, he's saving humans. And humans, as we are, we come with our own challenges and our own troubles and different circumstances we're managing and dealing with and trying to manage. Domestic violence being so secretive as it is not often addressed in the church because people don't want to address it. Sometimes they believe that because you got saved, God automatically and immediately wipes out everything and every issue that you've ever had. Now, that is not often true. Does that mean that God cannot miraculously deliver or set someone free from something that they're dealing with? No. God has done it time and time again, and he will continue to do it because he's a miracle working God. However, not everyone is immediately and miraculously delivered from what it is they're dealing with. Sometimes that individual walks through the process of healing over time. And in so doing, they're often able to help those who are suffering as well. Now, those who are immediately delivered doesn't mean that they can't help people as well, but not everyone is immediately delivered. That is God's decision he makes, and he is sovereign, and he gets to make the decision because he is God. One of the things that is very important to me is for individuals to understand, whether you're saved or unsaved, the devastation of domestic violence on the individual. It affects the individual, it affects the couple, it affects the community, it affects families. This is a devastating issue that we deal with in our society, and it's not often addressed, especially in the church. So to that I say, domestic violence causes depression, it can cause anxiety, and it can cause substance use disorder. Now, oftentimes people will say, well, how do you know it causes it? There is a fine line whenever we use the word cause, right? Because it can contribute to, or it can cause. We can say, well, when we isolate certain things, we can see how domestic violence is the contributing factor to someone having depression, anxiety, because it was not there prior to them being in this relationship. Could there be contributing factors? Probably, but often the pressures, the weight of the fear and everything else, the abuse, everything else that is associated with domestic violence, it causes so much internal turmoil and stress on an individual that he or she turns to alcohol, some different kinds of substances, or other risky behaviors, and depression and anxiety, mood disorders. We see sometimes there is personality disorders develop as a result of different stressors in your life. And domestic violence is a traumatic experience. And from traumatic experiences, we can see how different mental illnesses are developed. Okay? Trauma is a risk factor in many of the disorders that are diagnosed in the mental health, from a mental health perspective. So with that being said, remember, domestic violence, it's not something that is safe. It is not something to be hidden. It is something for us to address, whether we are in the church or outside of the church. Let your family and your friends know the information that you find out. Let your family and your friends encourage them to speak about what you're learning, and encourage each other to start the conversation. Like I said, it's a good way to do that. One of the things that oftentimes, really weighs heavy on me as a clinician is when I see individuals who are diagnosed with different mental illnesses, and then we trace the root of their problems probably all the way back to their own childhood, where they witnessed their parents being exposed to or being involved with domestic violence. So now from childhood, they have a connection to domestic violence that they were not aware of, that affected their lives. And maybe they end up in domestic violence themselves, or they end up being perpetrators, okay? Jesus is the one who redeems us when we want to be redeemed. A significant thing about Jesus that is not evident in other religions, or not talked about in other religions from the perspective of the Christian God that we serve, the Christian religion, is God is the lifter up of our head. He is the one who, when our souls are so broken and shattered, he is the one who comes in, and he not only heals, but he restores, and he is able to lift us up out of that space of domestic violence, whether it's depression, anxiety, or anything else. I really, really, really like the poem Footprints in the Sand, because it's a great depiction of what happens to us when we cannot carry ourselves. Jesus is there to carry us in those moments when we are weak, when we just are at that place of being so despondent and in despair and distraught from all that we are experiencing. He comes in and he picks us up and he carries us to the point where we are able to feel like as if I can now do this on my own, not on my own without Christ, but on my own where I can be able to pick my own head up and say, you know what, I can get out of bed today. Depression is not keeping me so bogged down that I don't even want to take a shower. But because of Christ coming in and picking me up at a time when I felt so distressed, now I'm able to find hope, and I'm able to go on for another day and another day and another day. Something else that is also very disturbing to me is when we are attacked by the enemy, the one who hates our soul because he does not want us to live a life for Christ. When he seems to bombard our minds, our hearts, and our souls with suicide. His one purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy us. In everything that he does is to turn us away from Christ. And if he can, in those moments of despondency, when we are unable to pick our heads up, in those moments of this feeling distraught, when we cannot find hope anywhere around us, his purpose is to kind of, like the saying goes, kick us while we are down. Because if in those times he can get us to point our attention and our direction towards killing ourselves, destroying ourselves, he has now accomplished his goal, which is to stop God's purpose on the earth through your life. I'm going to say it again. If he can point us towards suicide and get us going in that direction to end our lives, he has stopped God's purpose on the earth through our lives. Because each and every one of us have a purpose that God has given us. So when we connect with Christ, he teaches us what that purpose is, and he shows us how to live it out. He tells us and teaches us how do we walk it out each and every day. That's what he does. But the enemy of our souls wants to destroy us. And one of the ways he does that is to constantly bombard our minds with suicidal ideation. Suicidal thoughts telling us that there is no hope and the only solution for you is to take your own life. I want you to know today, he is a liar. He is a liar now. He's a liar today. He was a liar back then when Jesus called him a liar. He was a liar when God told him he needed to get out of heaven. And he will always be a liar. Until the end of time, he will always be a liar. But if he can get you to be in a place where you are so emotionally distraught that you don't think clearly, and he can put you into that place where suicide is your only hope, he has accomplished his goal. I want you to know today that God loves you, and his purpose and his plan for your life is not suicide. It is not for you to take your own life, because there's help. There is help out here. You're going to see a lot of information on the television. You're going to hear it on the radio. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you see. Pay attention to what you hear. And when you have an opportunity, find a way to access the resources that are being spoken about this month. If someone invites you to something for domestic violence, if you can, go. The more you find out, the more you learn, the more you will understand that ending your life is not the answer. Domestic violence can end if we do it together. Domestic violence can stop destroying lives if we do it together. Domestic violence can stop wreaking havoc in communities and killing, destroying, and stealing from individuals for generations to come. We can do it together. I want to thank you for listening. Remember to put your comments in the comments section, to subscribe, like, and turn on your notifications just in case I post other videos that are not scheduled throughout this month. I greatly appreciate you and have a wonderful day until I see you here next time. Thank you.